What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today we're gonna be ranking the 8 mandatory poses of Iain Valliere from worst to best. And we're gonna be considering the poses throughout the bodybuilder's whole career. Iain has been competing for a while already, so we're gonna take into consideration if a certain pose has improved or, on the contrary, gotten worse. In that case, it might just be fair to mark it down for such an inconsistency, right? But before I start, I think Iain deserves a little introduction. He's a current pro bodybuilder, multiple time top 7 Olympian, and Arnold Classic runner up from 2021. Surely one of the best competitors in the current ranks, judging by that. His physique might not be aesthetic and it's not everyone's cup of tea, but hey, always in crazy condition, and he's peeled to the bone, dry and grainy, and he's got some great muscle groups, such as his quads mainly. Okay, now let's start counting down the mandatories, and I would start with the ab and thigh. This, in my opinion, Ian's weakest pose, because he doesn't sport a great midsection, let's be honest. However, he looks pretty good in the quad department. I'll give him that. But really nothing doing. No way he's getting a win against other contestants in this pose. I mean, he's covering his abs with his arm, basically. That's not how you execute the pose. I get it, his abdominals are really not very well separated or shaped at all, but in my opinion, it would be better if he kept his hand to the side. But anyway, this mandatory wouldn't look great either way. With all due respect, he definitely does have better poses, so let's move on to them. The rear double, for instance, is better as I see it, but still, none of Ian's body parts look that great in it. He's not bad in the lower body, but the back remains a weakness for him, for sure, and his upper body overall looks a little sloppy if you ask me. The way he's holding his arms and like leaning to the back. I don't really like his posing here, especially um in the recent years. For instance, in the picture on the left is the least recent one, and he definitely looks better, I would say. So, I don't think this shot looks very good on Ian, to be honest, but once again, no disrespect. It's just not a good pose for him. Sixth, I would put the rear lat spread. In this pose, Ian's back looks better than in the rear double biceps, but his execution still has some room for improvement as I see it. The lower body looks very good though. The glutes are pretty peeled and also some pretty great quad sweeps visible from the back. That looks great. The lats look decently developed and the back is sort of short and maybe a little small compared to his lower body because he is a bit long-legged, and that's not very good in this pose, but still his back lat spread is pretty decent. His back isn't bad, at least it's well conditioned as always. You can see some vascularity in the back, which is nice. He's not the widest, admittedly, but he's got pretty fine detail. However, I still don't consider this a strong mandatory because Ian needs more width or a better shape to his back, if you ask me. That would solve the quote unquote problem. Most competitors would still probably be beating him in this pose. Do you agree, guys? Next up, though, is the front double biceps, and this could really be a much better pose than it is, but I think it's already a pretty good pose. Ian's posing style is sort of ruining it a little bit, or at least hampering him from looking a little bit better, if you ask me. It looks a little bit forced with the arms raised way up most of the time, and also the shoulders lifted up in quite a strange manner. That just doesn't look like a natural position to me. But I gotta say, his quads look great from this angle. And also the waistline. His V-taper is actually really nice. And with an improved posing style, it would be great. And he's got awesome arms, I have to give him that. Look at the size of the biceps and also the triceps and the forearms, not bad. So his arms definitely look great in this pose. Very big. Now, moving on to the second half. Fourth, I would put the most muscular pose. Iain hits the hands clasp most often, and in my opinion, it's his best bet. So good job on that. He also does the double or single hand on hip variation, but as you can see on the right, it doesn't look as impressive as his hands clasped. In the hands clasped, he looks very full and round, and he's got very thin skin. You can see all sorts of vascularity, and the muscle is just popping out of the pictures, right? His chest is a little bit scrunched up, and it isn't showing the best thickness in the world. That's why I wouldn't count this hands clasp among the best of nowadays competitors. But otherwise, it looks absolutely exceptional with those shredded boulder shoulders. That's great. And big arms, and even quite a good midsection. The lower body looks amazing. The quads are shredded and cut and have great size. So Iain Valliere definitely looks like a tank in this pose, and it's a really freaky pose for him, if you ask me. Very imbalanced, but it works very well. But I would argue he's better in the side poses. So in third, I have the side triceps pose. Now this pose is just a little bit odd because his whole body looks amazing except for the tricep itself. So for the fans that put a lot of emphasis on the body part that is in the name of the pose, you probably won't appreciate Iain's side triceps because his horseshoe could be a lot less flat, but I personally don't have a problem with it. I think his execution is absolutely masterful. I love his execution in this pose. I think his lower body looks amazing. His midsection is sunk in. His chest even looks quite good. And other than that, he just has amazing flow in this pose. And he looks super shredded. This is definitely the pose where his abs are at their best. They look very sunk in, and the waist seems really small from this angle, so it's really amazing. He can just hit this pose very well, even though he doesn't have the amazing development of the triceps like some other competitors do. But I appreciate his execution. And runner up is going to be the second side pose, the side chest pose. And this is similar to his side triceps because his pecs are a little bit on the weaker side compared to the enormous arms, delts, and the detailed side quad, which all look amazing. If we ignore the straightened far leg, which doesn't look very good in my opinion, um, he hits this pose pretty well. The way he displays his chest makes it look less flattened and much better if you ask me. I think in both his side poses, Iain makes the best out of what he has, and that needs to be commended and rewarded. And his side chest really looks amazing. But first, I see the front lat spread. As opposed to what Iain's back looks like from the rear, it looks very exceptional from the front. His lats look pretty wide and very well developed, and he's wide through the clavicles and shoulders, and his midsection looks to be really well controlled and small. Iain's quads look at their best in this pose too, I would say. The way they're displayed here, they look really big and dry, even though they ain't got the best separation in the world. He has a fantastic X frame, which is so important in this pose, and that makes this by far his strongest pose for me. He looks absolutely amazing in this pose. I think he could easily beat almost everyone in history in the front lat spread. One of the best of all time for me. I think it's a pose that suits him really well. But your opinion might indeed vary, so be sure to let us all know down in the comment section below your own ranking of Iain's mandatory poses. I think you're gonna find it interesting trying to rank them. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some Iain Valliere videos and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.